Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Green Arrow FPL podcast from Fantasy Football Hub as we look ahead to Gameweek 37, the penultimate game week of the season. My name is Fergie, and I'm here with the brilliant Rich Clarke. Rich, how are you? And what colour was your arrow in Gameweek 36?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm well, and I had a green arrow last week, Fergie,
Oosh.
so not as big as I hoped to have with the hype over Brentford versus Ipswich that was consuming most of the community. Brought in Visser at the very last minute after waiting for the Manchester City team leak. I don't know about you, mate, but I'll be glad if these team leaks become a thing of the past next season. But duly, the Marmouche is starting on the bench. News broke at about 10 minutes to go, I think. So there was time to act on that and make a transfer. And I think we talked on the pod last week about Acuna or Wisser decision, and I decided to go for Wisser at the last minute as the ownership pick, and mainly because the fixture was better for him. Brought in Wisser, but he duly returned 1 point, got booked, and didn't get any returns. However, I think you went the other way, didn't you?
I did on your advice, I might add, Rich.
Yeah.
You were tempting me into Cunha. Sorry for those watching. I've just I've just updated the slide. You could probably see I didn't, but I managed to do it now. 61 points for you, Rich. 207k rank as well.
Yeah.
I had a green as well. I had 63 points. I've just crept inside the top 200k. I think.
Yeah, I see.
You've
managed to make it by 50 places. Yeah, well,
I'm in the top 200k club, mate. You're two points off it. But yeah, I went for Cunha, who got his what do you have? His 59th minute sub, including a yellow card. So, but I was
very lucky not to get sent off. I said could he last 3 games with not being sent off? He very nearly didn't last one, did he?
I was all over Visser. I think on the pod, I wasn't sure who I was going for. I was all over Visser, and then I just had your words ringing in my ear, as I tend to do quite a lot. And a lot of the times it's helped me this season. And I would say that I'm reasonably happy with Cunha, though I do still wish I'd gone for Visser, because I really like Brentford's last 2 fixtures as well. I think I prefer Cunha as the pick because largely the penalties. I've always been big on pens as a major factor in when you've got a 50-50, which you go for one with pens. But I do like Visser's fixtures. But thankfully, Visser blanked himself, didn't he? So it didn't lose out too much.
He did. He did. It's been, I don't know what you think, but it's been very difficult to make big gains in recent weeks because it's so difficult to get the captain to bang, isn't it? It just seems to be, you're getting the odd assist here and there from the popular choice, but getting a double-figure captaincy score has been quite elusive, I think, in recent weeks, and hopefully that's gonna change moving forward with the last 2 games.
2 points in it, Rich. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I know. I'm feeling a bit like our golf game yesterday, mate. Bloody close.
It was. Yeah, we had a fantastic day yesterday with Di and Mike, two hub members. We had a bit of a home internationals, didn't we? Di, even though he lives in Kent, he's a proud Welshman. So it was myself and Di against Rich and Mike, and for most of the rounds, pretty fair to say, Rich, I think we were 2 up for like two-thirds of the round, and then the last 3 or 4 holes I capitulated, and so it's basically Di against you two, and you managed to salvage a draw at the end, but a fantastic day, and thanks to those guys for a wonderful day, and thanks to you, Rich, for organising. Superb.
Yeah, good, mate. I think our fantasy season is going to go to the wire in a similar way. There's a number of us, I think, getting together for the final games, and there's no more than 3 or 4 points between us. I think Jonas is joining us as well, isn't he? Coming over from Norway for it, and he's in the mixer with us, similar sort of points level. So we're going to have a great last day, battling it out, hopefully, and it all depends what we do from here.
It does. I feel you've got a move. I feel you're a move or 2 ahead of me, and maybe a transfer ahead of me as well. So I still feel you've got the edge, but as we know, it only takes some random haul from someone you have taken out, because let's face it, all the players we're taking out now are not bad options, are they? They've still got the opportunity to score big, and we're just hoping the players that we are bringing in are going to outscore the good options we're taking out. It's not like earlier in the season where there's just bad options or massive injuries. There's so many options still in all positions. As we touched on the forward last week, it's the same with midfielders. I want to bring players in, but I don't know who to take out. It's it's a really tough one. So we're going to discuss a bit of that. How to chase the upside. Should we take hits and things now? But yeah, all good stuff. Welcome to everyone in the chat, packed chat for the penultimate pod of the season. The sun's out, but everyone's in watching YouTube. What's going on, Rich? I hope you get out your garden. I haven't left my house all day today. Look at your windows open, Rich. I haven't. Yeah. I can't have mine open because the light affects the light for the camera. But oh dear. Yeah, what a lovely day.
I have been planting some stuff out in my garden this morning, so I've been out there. But it's a bit murky here, not as nice as yesterday. But
Johnny A is in, as is Ross Johnson. He says, afternoon party people. Damien says, great to be able to watch live. Welcome, Damien. Vicky Osborne is in, says, bench boost anxiety here. Ooh, wow, Vicky. We'll talk about chips a bit later. Zara is in as well. Quick question, is it worth a -4 hit at this stage of the season to get Watkins in? We'll definitely be talking about hits and stuff now. Chris Woodstock is in, Blue Demon Jr., Claire FPL, Ian McLaughlin, Musica Pogo, Average Joe, I'm 1974, FPL, Freddie says, afternoon, gents. Hope you enjoyed your round yesterday with Sav. We absolutely did. It was superb. Daniel Hughes says, I'm not going to win my mini league. Can I claim my money back from Fantasy Football Hub? Daniel, as long as you met the terms and conditions, you absolutely can. Just wait till the season is finished. Weekend Fix, Andre, Balesaru, Ross McAlpoint, Steve Foy, Forza Juve, and so many more. I can't go through everyone, but welcome everyone. Absolutely fantastic to have you with us. On to game week 37, Rich. We're closing in. What is it? We've got 10 days until the 2:30 lockout. Pens down. Nothing to do, but lots to think about before then. And we've got the fixtures up now for the final two games of the season. We touched on last week. The teams right at the top of the ticker. They're not the better teams, are they? Ipswich away to Leicester, home to West Ham. West Ham home to Forest, away to Ipswich. Even though Bowen, shout out to Jan who brought in Bowen a few weeks ago. He's done really, really well for him, and I really like him actually for these next 2 weeks as well. Everton home to Southampton, nice game there, but then away to Newcastle. Leicester have got decent games. Arsenal are kind of top of the best teams in terms of fixtures. They're home to Newcastle, away to Southampton. I'm sure we'll be touching on a certain Mr. Saka in a little bit. Bournemouth are away to Man City this week, but potentially an FA Cup, dried up old Man City before being home to Leicester. Brentford have got good fixtures, home to Fulham, away to Wolves, and right down the bottom, Brighton, Southampton, and Palace and Newcastle have got the tougher games left. So, Rich, what are your thoughts? Where are you looking for these last 2 weeks of the season?
Well, I mean, I think they appear sort of about ninth in this ticker, but probably because of the reputations of the two teams they're playing. But Aston Villa really stick out as the team with the two best fixtures, regardless of the ticker rating. I think, if you look at the Europa final position for Tottenham and Man United, they're two teams that completely fixated on that game in Bilbao next Wednesday. And given Tottenham's worsening injury situation now, I think they've lost another couple of players in the last 24 hours. I can't see anything other than weakened sides coming out tomorrow night. But there is talk to the contrary that it'll be a long time since the first team has had a run out in either of those sides. So they've got to play them sometime. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I mean, we'll come back to that in a minute, the Tottenham United. But looking at the fixtures, Arsenal and Bournemouth really stick out beyond Villa as the teams to maybe take a 2-week view of. Clearly, going into Bournemouth assets this week isn't essential because of that City match, and City will still have to go strong on Tuesday night because they haven't got enough points to secure Champions League qualification yet. So I expect a slightly rotated but strong City side against Bournemouth. But they have the plum fixture on the last day. So if you're looking for an enabler to maybe enable a Watkins or something like that, getting a Bournemouth asset in that's cheap that will enable you to get to Ollie Watkins this week or something like that makes a lot of sense. Someone like an Evan Nielsen, if you've
Yeah,
got
I
someone
like
like
Evan
that
Nielsen.
ready for next week, is there's no harm in that. But Arsenal, a lot of questions this week about, do you go for Saka straight away with the Newcastle home game, or do you wait until the kind of template move next week, which is to transfer somebody out for him for that away game against Southampton? So that's very much on my mind, and I think quite a lot of the algorithms and AIs are suggesting that Saka could be brought in this week. So Arsenal, Bournemouth, Villa, and then maybe if you want, a few people out there with a free hit left that they might use in the last week. If you want a 1 week punt, maybe an Everton asset, against Southampton this week is worth looking at. And similarly, Leicester, we've got a little differential slide coming up next week, and it's somebody's last ever game turning out for Leicester, and because they're not, it was revealed today they're not going to play the final game. So we'll cover that in a minute when we come to the differentials. So there's 4 or 5. I wouldn't really be investing in teams like more in Newcastle or Liverpool or stuff at this stage. There's pictures of Salah in rooftop swimming pools or something like that coming out today. So again, it's a bit of a risky captaincy shout if he's on holiday already, isn't it? So
It is. Just
any
quick.
thoughts? Any thoughts from you above that on fixtures?
Yeah, no, I agree. And Villa is the one for me. I'm a Spurs fan, but I said it last week. Palace, how many times over the last 20 or 30 years, have I expected Spurs to lose at home to Crystal Palace? Not many. Absolutely expected it last week, and it could and probably should have been more as well. So I'm thoroughly expecting the same this week. I'm expecting Villa to put in a very dominant display at home to Spurs, and probably away to United again in 38. They're playing well. They're dangerous. They've had a fantastic season. It hasn't quite happened for them, has it, on the actual silverware side? But they're such a better team than Tottenham and United. And I can't believe I'm saying this as a Spurs fan, but, Spurs have been awful this season. And how, goodness me, we've got ourselves in a position where we can potentially win a major trophy and get in the Champions League in 90 minutes of football is just beyond me for both Spurs and United. It's almost embarrassing. But here we are. This is football. You take the rough with the smooth. I think Spurs have had quite, a fair bit of rough over the years, so we take it. But in terms of what it means for FPL, I just feel Villa are going to beat Spurs 3-1, 4-1.
3-1, 4-1 was my shout.
Yeah, I think 3-1, 4-1. I think Spurs will score. I still think Villa will have way too much. So all over them, and and the same against United as well. In 38, so I'm all over that, mate. As much as it pains me, I completely am. And I agree with the rest of what you said. I really fancy Evan Nielsen, home to less than 30. I think he's actually a very underrated asset. He's very low owned. I think when we were on the golf trip yesterday, I said I was thinking of bringing in Evan Nielsen, potentially even captain him in Gameweek 38, and I think it was Mike said that he's like 3% owned or something crazy like that. Yeah. So he's definitely going to be my Fergie as a punt for Gameweek 38. I really, really like him. So I agree with all that, mate. Yeah. Let's have a touch on the players now then. And firstly, we just want to mention the potential for FA Cup roulette in terms of what it may mean for Palace and City. I think I've got, what have I got? I got 3 Palace, and I think I actually took Marmoush out actually last week. But I've got 2 defenders, so I've got 5 players. Out of this team, and plenty have got similar 4, 5, or even 6.
I've got 5
players. So, what are your thoughts, mate, on on the kind of lineups they will put out on Saturday and how those potentially impact the game midweek?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. I mean, I'd say most people on a typical strategy who wildcarded in 30 or 31 and have gone through the chip usage are going to have between 4 and 6 Palace and City players in their team. You can't bench all of them, and there's different views and opinions on who will start on Tuesday, and a lot depends on I guess we know how Palace will line up for the cup final. They'll
Yeah,
just play
absolutely.
their normal first team. But City, there's a little bit of jeopardy over who will start because it's Kevin De Bruyne's last home game at the Etihad. My view on this is he's probably going to start on the bench. He didn't start the semi-final for City,
Yeah,
so I think there's a chance that Pep goes with the same team that played the semi-final, and De Bruyne comes on as a substitute, halfway through the game or 60 minutes through the game, and therefore I think De Bruyne's fine to keep in your team and start on Tuesday or starting game week 37. I wouldn't captain him because I'd be a little bit unsure about his
yeah,
minutes, but I think he's certainly a keeper for this week. Haaland, who knows? I was really surprised he got nearly 90 minutes against
incredible.
Southampton. So clearly he's fit. I think he'll start the FA Cup final because you just would start with Haaland. But then 2 games in a row, if that goes to extra time, maybe Haaland gets benched for Marmoush, ironically, on Tuesday. So there's that jeopardy there over who starts for City. But the good thing, if you have lots of City players, is City still have to get some points out
Yeah,
of that Bournemouth
me
game. If
too.
they lose that Bournemouth game, they could lose their whole Champions League. They could fight to go into that game in sixth place if all the teams below them win over the weekend. So they could actually be knocked out of the Champions League spots by the time they play that match. So they will have to go strong against Bournemouth. And yeah, but likes of Savinho, maybe Ruben Diaz, maybe some of those players that have got a very good deputy could find themselves on the bench on Tuesday.
Yeah, and
What's
a
your thoughts on
Kanji.
City first of all?
Yeah,
Similar.
Kanji's back, and Ake, I don't think it's far away either. So I've got Ruben Diaz, and I just don't
Not going
know.
to
You
play.
know, it's hard to say. I think Vardiol will play. Um, I think De Bruyne will play both the final and the final game against. Sorry, and both. I think he starts them both. Personally, I think it's the perfect swan song for him, which he absolutely deserves, is to be on the pitch, and playing a massive part. And he's there on merit, right? He's not there because they feel
No,
sorry
not
for
a
him.
sentimentality or
I
anything. No.
think I think he's in their best 11. Um, he's on form. There are plenty of players that are out of form. Foden is woefully out of form, as are others. So I think he'll start the final, and I also think he'll start game week 37. I think he gets withdrawn in the 88th minute in game week 37, and then who knows for 38. But
Yeah.
he's going to get a massive,
Yeah.
massive ovation
There's
in
been
there.
a
So
it's been a tweet of the program cover, hasn't there, with a crown on his head. So a big cartoon
yeah,
portrait of Kevin wearing a crown. So if they don't start him in that game after putting him on the front of the
yeah, this
program,
is
I'd
it.
be quite surprised.
I think Haaland and
Yeah.
Marmoush probably hard to say. I think they'll start just because they're both must-win games, and they haven't really got that many options of people in form, have they? Like Savinho, Grealish, not sort of massive in form.
Well,
Doku's in and
Doku,
out of the
there's
team.
Bernardo, I mean, they've got so many options, but you just don't know which ones are
I
gonna feature.
think
That's the thing.
I think if I was going to pick their best front four as it stands, or the one that Pep, is likely. He likes to play Silva, doesn't he? In these massive games, he could play him on the right. He could play De Bruyne behind Haaland and Marmoush on the left. And just sack off all the rest of the ones that are just kind of have come in and out. That's what I would do. I don't know if he would do it, but yeah, that's my thoughts really. And for Palace, they'll obviously go massively full strength in the final. But I can't see why they wouldn't midweek either. Any injuries, unless they have, you have got injury prone players for Palace maybe who may give a rest to, but they're in fantastic form. And I can't see why they wouldn't play
I
midweek
think
either.
I think Mateta might be at a bit of a risk. I think he's probably the riskiest one
Agree
of not
on
starting
Mateta.
Tuesday
Yeah, agree on Mateta.
because he hasn't really been in good form. He's been getting taken off early anyway, and Nketiah, can step in and play a perfectly adequate role if he gets a start on Tuesday. So I think if you've got Mateta, he's probably your most obvious sell. I think Eze will play. He's probably the form player in the Premier League.
Absolutely.
And him and Sarr don't have a huge amount of people pushing to take their places. I mean, you could find Sarr gets a benching, but I think Eze is probably the most likely attacker to play, and I think Munoz will play. I think he's probably the fittest player that is in the Palace team, and he certainly won't be suffering from fatigue or anything like that on Tuesday. So I think you're safe to start Munoz. It's a nice fixture. It's Wolves, at home, so it's a nice fixture for them. But just if you're worried about benchings and bench cameos, I think Mateta is your biggest risk there.
So looking at the main men for the rest of the season, so who are the people we want? We want in our team. Have either got in our teams and we're holding, or the ones we desperately want. So looking at this graphic, I've only got one of them so far, and I want the other four. But just want to run us through the main men.
Look, every single thumbnail and every single piece of FPL content this week has been about Ollie Watkins, so we might as well cover that off first of all. And well done for putting him in the foreground, because we'll have to field the questions about Ollie. I think he's the obvious person to bring in this week if you want a third Villa asset. We know Spurs are not in a good way in the Premier League and couldn't give two hoots about the game really. So I would say my advice would be get Watkins in if you can. Certainly if you can get him in for free, I'd get him in. And we'll see later on about whether he's a standout captaincy from the poll, but he's certainly a shout for the captaincy tomorrow evening. So I think some people are a bit sort of hamstringed with three Villa assets already. There's a lot of people out there with Rodgers, with Martinez, Concert, etc. So if you've got three Villa, I'm not sure it's worth breaking that apart to get to him. Are you one of those people?
Oh my God, I just realised I haven't even thought. I've got Martinez and I got Concert and
Oh
my goodness.
Well, there you are. You fit that. That cookie cutter. Yeah.
I've just realised I've been planning on bringing Watkins in all week. Easy transfer, Mateta to Watkins. Not even thinking about my keepers. Oh my goodness.
All right, yeah.
Bugging things up.
Pay attention for the rest of the pod.
Oh no! And it's not even like I want to make a goalkeeper or defensive transfer either.
Are you sure you got Rodgers? You have got Rodgers.
I've got Rodgers, Konsa, and Martinez.
All right, yeah, there we are. You might be a bit snookered. So anyway, if you haven't got three Villa assets, then Watkins is your man. If you've got Watkins in already, like me, and you don't have Rodgers, then Rodgers is a very nice pick. Quite a lot of people making a move maybe off a Newcastle asset to Rodgers this week. That would be a fine. I mean, both those guys are nailed, particularly with Tielemans now out of the side. Rashford is still injured, confirmed earlier, and Rashford is ineligible for the last game of the season against Man United, even if he recovers. So Rodgers absolutely nailed for the last two. Watkins absolutely nailed for the last two. Two great fixtures. Can't go wrong with either of those attacking assets. I mean, a lot of people don't have the funds, or they're already happy with their three strikers. They've seen a lot of people with three great strikers and they don't really want to make a move. So Rodgers may make a lot more sense for people without him to get in. And I've got some ownerships on Rodgers that are quite scary. So in the top 10K, Rodgers is 70% owned in the top 10K. If you're slightly further down the rankings, like me and Fergie, at top 250K, Rodgers is 63% owned. So he's no differential at all. So that may not suit you if you're chasing. But 2/3 of the game owns Morgan Rodgers, and they're not many of them are going to be benching him this week. Now, by contrast, however, Watkins in the top 250K at the moment is only 8.5% owned. So that is going to go absolutely through the roof in the next 24 hours. However, it won't get up to the sort of 100% EO levels
definitely
that
not.
make things
Definitely
really
not.
scary. He might only be 20, 25, 30% owned by kickoff. So still going to get you huge rank gains if he comes in and bangs as a captain. So I really like Watkins because he's relatively low owned. In the top 10K, how much do you think Watkins is owned in the top 10K?
Very low.
8.2%.
Wow.
So he's the man to go for if you're looking to secure top 10K, rise through the top 10K, etc. Really is quite extraordinary. But then we'll get onto differentials in a minute. But there's another Villa player that will blow your mind even more than Watkins on the ownership front. So
Ramsey's banned as well. Thank you, FPL Freddie, for reminding me of that.
Banned as well. So
who do you think's on pens?
Totally nailed.
It'll be Watkins,
Well, Adam Hopcroft, our friend, a Villa season ticket holder, he thinks he might be.
Oh,
Yeah,
goodness
yeah.
me.
Checked with him last week. I mean, it's not guaranteed. I mean, Asensio missed 2 penalties in a game, didn't he, when he
Yeah, he
last
did.
took them? And I'm not sure they've had one since, or maybe they've had one and Tielemans took it, but now he's out of the picture. So Ollie could be like third choice pen taker. So
Other picture you got on the slide, Saka, Bowen and Eze, they're all in
yeah.
sparkling form, aren't they? Don't know any of them either. What are your thoughts?
No,
What are your
I
thoughts on
haven't
them
got
in
any.
order?
I haven't got any of them at the moment. And Bowen was who I probably should have gone for the other week, but I didn't. I went for Watkins instead, and that's now obviously because I've got two bites of cherry. But Jared Bowen is just always someone that I've just never owned. Don't know why, and I always found someone else to go to instead. But his form's been fine. The problem is he's just the one good player that West Ham have. So and they've got Forest this week. Is that right?
They're home to
Is it
Forest and then away
Yeah.
to
So Forest has
Ipswich.
still got something to play for, but they are bottom of the 20 teams in terms of expected goals conceded at the moment. So
That's incredible
still
because
think
they were
there's
top, weren't they, at the first half
know,
of the
I
season?
know, and I still think there's time for Bowen to be brought in if
Yeah,
you have the funds and you have the slot to do that. So moving off maybe Palace asset to Bowen is a nice move this week, but I wouldn't lose Eze. I would lose maybe Sarr
yeah,
or something like that to him. So really like Bowen still because he's got Ipswich and Forest and Ipswich, two very nice games to finish the season with, and Bowen could be a nice last week punt as well if it doesn't work for people this week to go for.
and thoughts on Saka, I suppose. And just while we're on Saka, this week, home to Newcastle, but also there's plenty of people, well, including myself now, who are contemplating hits and stuff. So firstly, Saka, and then I'd just like to ask you your thoughts on hits for this week, because as I mentioned at the start of the show, taking out good players, right? The people with, there'll be people taking out Salah for a hit, which just sounds mental when you think. I mean, it feels so obvious. Is it just us getting sort of carried away with chasing upside because we're this close to the end of the season? Is it sensible, and what's your general guidance around that?
I think if you're going to captain the player you're bringing in as part of that hit,
Yeah.
you're effectively doing 3 transfers for the price of 2, aren't you? You're
Yeah.
kind of getting that extra player's points that you want to captain. You could captain someone else, obviously. I get that, but if you think you're trying to get the best captain for the last 2 weeks, I've had lots of people ask me in the last 48 hours, who would you? I can only afford to get Watkins, or I can only afford to get Saka. I can't afford to get them both without taking a hit at some point during the next 2 weeks. Which do I do? Right? I would say get Watkins this week
Yeah.
and worry about next
I
week.
agree. Next week. I agree.
Yeah. If that means bringing forward the hit and taking that, so you get Watkins, but at the same time you give yourself the funding to move to Saka next week with 1 free transfer, you're not having 2 hits then, you're only having 1, but you're still getting arguably the 2 best captains for those 2 weeks. So I would say bring the hit forward rather than hit in the last 2 weeks. I knew this would come up because I don't like taking a hit on the last day of the season, and we're going to be together for the last day of the season, and lots of us in the room will probably have to take hits or be taking hits. I remember when we first started getting together about 6 years ago for these things, I brought in Wilfred Zaha on the last day for a hit for something like Danny Ings or something like that on the last day. Zaha scored twice and got booked. He therefore didn't get any bonus points, and I was 1 point better off than what Danny Ings got on that move. And he scored a brace, and I was only 1 point better off by the hit.
Yeah.
So it can work, but it's not going to spectacularly work. It's unlikely to spectacularly work. So I would say avoid the hit on the last week of the season if you can, but it all depends on your guys. If you don't mind the downside, if you just want to shoot for the moon and you don't mind whether you finish 200k, 300k, 400k, whatever, and you drop way down because of taking a bunch of hits, then fine, just enjoy yourself. But if you're looking to meet a mini league goal, win some money, stay in a mini league, whatever it might be, then don't throw it all away and crazy stuff, because it seldom works.
And Saka, this week or wait? If you can get him in for free this week, if
you've already got Watkins and you can get him in for free this week, I would say get him in.
Yeah.
But if you've got to choose between him and Watkins,
Yeah.
I'd go Watkins, and then I'd get Saka next week. I'm planning to get Saka next week.
So if you're looking for differentials, which I might be now, following my news that I've got Martinez tucked away on my bench, who should we be looking at?
Yeah, got some differentials here. Not suggesting all of them are as safer moves as the guys we've just covered.
No,
if you're looking to protect, if you're looking to finish, sensibly, then the first slide is for you, the main men. This is for the people who are chasing. This is for the people who want to have some fun. You want to go for some really low ownership options in the last 2 weeks. Maybe you've got a free hit that you're going to use in the last week. So this is a 1 week punt type slide. Jamie Vardy, last game for Leicester. Home to Ipswich, aren't they? Is that right?
They are home to Ipswich.
Ipswich tomorrow.
Wow.
It's been announced that this will be Jamie Vardy's 500th game for Leicester.
Oh, what a way to sign off.
He's not going to start the Bournemouth game in the last week. Wow. So this is only a 1 week punt, and he's on 199 goals.
Oh, goodness me.
So if they get a penalty, they're definitely giving it to Jamie, aren't they? So basically, Vardy is your romantic, sentimental punt for this week as a striker. He's also extremely cheap, so he may well give you aforementioned funds for Saka as part of a downgrade. And I've just thrown him in there as a really romantic option. If you want to go to the other end of the spend scale and get to Bukayo Saka perhaps via Cole Palmer's ownership. Have a guess at what Cole Palmer's ownership in the top 250k is, Fergie.
The top 250, Cole Palmer. I will go 9%.
4.5%.
Oh, goodness me. And they're home to Man United, is that right?
Home to Man United.
Home to Man United. Home to a fully rotated Man United.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So if you fancy a nice segue into Saka that would just easily I think he's priced slightly higher, maybe 0.2 more, isn't he? 10.5-ish now, Palmer. Great. Could be a captain if you want to go for a massive differential captain on Palmer. Imagine if he gets his 4 goals again against United. You captained him, and then you get Saka next week for free.
Oh, stop it.
Nice move, huh? Nice move. But I'm not looking at it personally, but it's because I've got De Bruyne and I'm just going to sit on De Bruyne. Yeah. But if you fancy selling Salah and you think he is on the beach or in the swimming pool, then Cole Palmer in the background there is looking great. Now, next to him, Asensio, supposedly Villa's penalty taker. Guess what his ownership is in the top 250k?
Oh, I reckon he's very low. I'd go for 3%. 2%. 2%.
There we are.
That's a punt.
Again, that's a punt.
And he's a good player.
And if they get a couple of penalties.
He's got form as well. I play the other games, and so I'm quite aware of what happens a lot of the time in the other cups and stuff. And Asensio, I think a couple of times in the cup, has come off the bench and scored like twice and stuff. So he's very, very capable. He missed a big chance last week, I think, didn't he? Missed a tap in last week. Yeah. So I do like Asensio as a punt. I think he gets in the right positions.
Well, because of those injuries, Ramsey suspension.
Exactly, he's going to play.
Tielemans is out. Rashford's not going to play. He's going to play the last 2 games.
He is definitely. I really like that one actually.
Yeah, he's a really good one. And then if you are struggling, and it obviously seems like people are going to make the choice between Watkins and Saka, why not just go Martinelli? Because he's just so affordable and easy to move off a Palace asset to him this week or next week. Something like 6.7. You have to check his price, but I think
he's gone under the radar these last few weeks. Yeah, I think we've mentioned him most weeks, but just sort of in passing. But scored again last week.
Absolutely,
he's been on form. Yeah. He really has.
Exactly. Martinelli, Vardy, and Beto. They're all below 1% owned in the top 250k.
Yeah. Beto, there we go. Beto, home to Southampton.
4.8 million against Southampton. So there you are. I mean that is our cracking set of differentials.
That is superb work, mate. You've done a hell of a selling job there. I want all of them actually.
Yeah.
I might have to go for one of them.
Yeah. If you were going for the Hail Mary free hit this week, you'd just throw them all in there,
You
wouldn't
would
you? Because
absolutely. They're all fantastic
yeah,
options this week. And like you say, a
yeah,
lot of them are in there due to like injuries and stuff, but they're nailed. A few more on penalties as well, So I really like it, and the fixtures are mint. So yeah, some really
yeah,
good ones to chew on there, mate. I like that.
yeah.
Let us know in the chat if you spotted anyone else who should be on this differentials chart. It's crazy we start thinking of these players come.
There's
towards the end
loads
of
of
the
them. I
season.
mean, I could have done two. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't put the Bournemouth guys on there because it's a City
yeah,
away game. I mean,
definitely. They'll be all over
Evan
next
Nielsen
week.
is still really low owned. And so if you want Evan Nielsen, I want to see Cliver get a game as well against City before I go. Cliver, I
Yeah.
might get on the last day because I'm more likely to get a mid in on the last day as my second transfer. But, I wanted to, apparently, I think his partner had a baby or something, and I'm not
Yeah, I
sure
think
if
that's
that
right.
was the reason he didn't start last week. But Cliver's still a great option. Semenyo, again, much more of a safe minutes pick. But yeah, they're not really differentials to the level of these guys, but you'll see them perhaps on our final slide next week.
Good stuff. Predicted points for the final two games of the season. Saka has usurped Salah to the top of the chart. We gave Salah's average XG a bit of a bump down this week because since game week 30 he has dropped like a stone. And that means that Saka has popped up to the top. So we're talking about players to get. Saka is right up there. He's predicted to score 13 points over the last two
weeks.
two weeks. Probably a lot of that, is down to next week. But yeah, Salah is still second, 12.9. Isak, 11.6 points. Haaland, 11. Watkins, 11. De Bruyne, 10. I'm looking, Rich. You've got most of these players already, you absolute swine. Palmer, 10. Martinelli, 10. Raul Jimenez is interestingly enough. Who have Fulham got over these last 2 weeks? But Raul is up there. Brentford and Man City. It's a bit of a strange one, but Raul's in there. And Buemo and Visser, Bowen, Wood, Evan Nielsen, Semenyo, Sharda. We keep ignoring him every week, man. He keeps bloody doing it. Did it again last week. So yes, so
we got a goalkeeper in there. Reyes even made the list. Look, that's good.
Reyes made the list. He fancy him for a clean sheet. Well, I expect a clean sheet next week. I'm not too sure about this week, but interesting stuff. The Habe wildcard team is obviously, there's not many people who've got chips left. We will touch on chips next, but this is looking at the kind of players also we could or should be looking at. Henderson and Kepa as keepers for the next 2 weeks. Munoz, Van Dijk, and Branthwaite for Everton. Really good game, obviously, this week, home to Southampton for Everton defenders. Konate and Kiriot in there as well. Saka, Salah, De Bruyne, Martinelli, and Semenyo
makes the list.
cut.
Yeah.
So they're the preferred 5. And then Watkins, Visser, and Beto. So the AI fancies Beto this week as well. So interesting stuff. They obviously the expensive midfield there means that you probably have to save up front. Hence why Beto has made it in. But again, looking Rich, you've got loads of these players. You've already got De Bruyne and Visser, and you're bringing in Watkins. I haven't got any of those players. My team is packed out with Palace players and sort of players from yesteryear at the moment, so I'm feeling a bit grim about our 2-point difference.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't think your players are that bad, mate. I think you're.
No,
I think I've been jealous of your double City defense, was done very well for you over recent weeks. City have got on, that run of form that they normally get on the run in and just keep on not conceding. I mean, even against Southampton, they didn't concede. So
I think it's 7 clean sheets in the last close. 9 or something like that. Yeah. So they've really done well. Assistant manager predictions for the next 2 weeks. So those who are still on assistant manager, Postecoglou and Amorim, unsurprisingly, the top 2 because they're so low down in the table. They've got table bonus opportunities. This week, Postecoglou is top 8.7. Next week, 12.5. There's home to Brighton next week, so there's maybe a decent opportunity there. But I do think they are fairly decent opportunity. Game week 38, maybe not so much for 37. And then you've got Arteta, third. Rock solid Arteta. He's always in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Potter, Slot, and Areola. If you were playing this week, Rich, who would you be on?
Right. I think I probably would go Arteta. Just for the last two, I wouldn't be using
A
free
transfer? No,
transfers on
definitely
there
not.
because I think that's the downside of having the AM at the end of the season is you've got to try and lose transfers to jink it around a bit, and
Yeah,
they're so valuable to bring in captaincy and stuff and get that right that I would just be setting and forgetting on the assistant manager. So whoever you've got, if it's Pep or something, I'd just keep it on Pep. I wouldn't move it. I'd use the transfer on a striker or a high upside mid or something like that. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't be going for Spurs or United. I think that's you're looking at a 1 pointer from the AM there
agree.
on both the games. And yeah, Arteta. Potter's not a bad shout. I don't know if he's got bonus this week, Potter.
Uh,
Maybe.
Forest, it probably has. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not a
Yeah,
bad shout
Potter's
that
not a
home to
bad shout.
Forest.
Yeah, quite like that if you're going to punt it. Certainly wouldn't go slot, and I wouldn't go Iriola
No,
until the last game. But then that'll just be there won't be a bonus with that. So
I think
yeah,
Potter if you're going for a punt, or Arteta if you want to play safe, are
yeah,
probably options there, aren't
yeah.
they? Bale's in the chat says Fergie still has Amiyazaki up front. That's how yesteryear my friend like this. Just in terms of the rest of the chips, Rich, for those who have got potentially free hit left, there was
Bench
someone in the
boost.
chat earlier saying that they've got free hit for game week 38. And bench boost and stuff. What are your kind of thoughts and strategies on
Yeah, I
those?
like. If you have a bench boost left to play, I would try and play it this week. Although if you're loaded up on Palace and City, I'd try and de-risk that with transfers before you play the bench boost because you could find that you're going to get two or three cameos after the
Yeah,
cup final. So I'd use your transfers to bin off a couple of City and Palace assets, maybe take a hit, use the bench boost this week, and then just enjoy the last week because that could be a crapshoot in
yeah,
terms of the rotation that we get in the last week. If you've got a free hit, I'd play it in the last week rather than this week, and hope for a bunch of team leagues and just set it up for the last day and enjoy yourself with those plum fixtures for like the likes of Arsenal and Bournemouth and that sort of thing. Because we had a cracking free hit 3 weeks ago, didn't
we
we?
did.
When the games were stacked against the promoted teams, and we've got a similar position in the last week, and it could be another 100 pointer for those that go in game week 38. So I think you could still have a great time in game week 38. And remember, game week 34 was only a single game week. It
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
a
right.
double game
That's
week.
right.
So definitely free hit 38. And we'll cover that in our final pod next week anyway with the best free hit to play. So yeah, that would be my view. Triple captain, I'd probably put it on Watkins tomorrow night if you had one left.
I
Honestly, I
think I
feel
would as
that
well.
I
I
feel
do as
that
well,
I
mate.
feel that good about
I
him.
do.
I feel
I
that
do
good.
as well. I can't bring him in.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
Peter Walker is 367th overall and has got bench boost and free hit left. Very
Well,
exciting. That is
he's
insane.
gonna move into the top
Top
100 then, isn't
100,
he?
I think, there.
Yeah.
Well done,
Yeah.
Peter. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Best captain for this week. Looking at the predicted points on Fantasy Football Hub, Saka, as I said, comes out top. He does come out top. 6.4, Salah 6.1, Watkins 5.9, De Bruyne 5.7. On the polls, Ollie Watkins comes out top, 38% of the vote. But I would say closely follow. We haven't mentioned them yet, really, but Brentford have got a plum fixture this week. Home to Fulham.
Yeah.
Fulham have been dreadful these last few weeks. And Buemo, home to Fulham. Salah third away to Brighton. Eze home to Wolves. Lots of options this week, mate. They're all good options
are,
this
mate.
week. Goodness
They
me.
are.
Palmer home to United. Rogers Tottenham. Vissa Fulham. Lots of options there. So yeah, what's your? Well, I think we know your
Yeah,
thoughts.
it's not got many votes, has it? But I would have thought that would go up a bit if you had another 100 votes
Yeah,
come in,
I
and
would
I
guess so.
think that Watkins is clear to me. I think Mbeumo is a nice, safe, templatey choice. I think there's always the argument, extra clean sheet point, extra point for a goal and stuff, which I think over the course of a season is important. But I think just that game is so stacked against Tottenham tomorrow night that Watkins.
Yeah, I've just come up with my plan for my team now. Actually, I'm feeling a touch better. A second ago,
Okay.
I was feeling sick, but I'm feeling a touch better now.
Oh, wait till we get to the
We
transfers.
won't be
You
long
can
now.
reveal it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not exciting, but It
Okay.
ticks a couple of boxes for me.
Okay, mate.
Fergie is a punt for Gameweek 37. I got told off in the week. I can't remember who by, but I got told off for not, for not pronouncing this enough, I suppose. But Fergie is a punt for Gameweek 37. Oh my goodness! Last week I had my one of the times of my worst of the season, mate. Gameweek 36. I went for Garnacho tonight. I don't think he started, did he? And United was so bad. So apologies. I know I know there's a couple of people who follow my punts and make them as their transfers every week.
Yeah.
And they've had a lot of success actually this week with
Yeah,
some of them.
you've had a good season.
I have had a good
You have.
season, but I had a dreadful week last week. So apologies for everyone who went with it last week. But this week, I'm going for someone. I mentioned him earlier, or we touched on him earlier. I think he has gone under the radar. I think he's a good option for these next 2 weeks. I may bring him in, may not. I probably won't, just because I haven't got the transfers available. But if I did have a transfer available, I was looking for a differential. I really like this player. I think he's had a fantastic season. He scored a few goals in Europe as well, I believe, which is why he's maybe got under the radar a touch. But I really like Gabriel Martinelli for these last 2 games. I think Arsenal. I think Arsenal Newcastle is going to be a good game. I fancy it to be, maybe like a 2-1 to Arsenal or something. But I fancy Martinelli to get a return there. Away to Southampton in the final week. They've got injuries. I think Trossard might be out injured as well potentially, or he's flagged anyway, so he's definitely going to play. And I'll call it now, mate. Right? Where are we? What's the date? It's May the 15th, 2025. I think Martinelli next season is going to have an absolute breakout season, and I think he's going to be one of the players of the season. I can feel him being in my game week 1 team, and I can feel next year he is going to absolutely fly. So I'm going to call it now, nice and early. So I'll get you can laugh at me this time next year, mate. But
I'm not laughing. I mean, he was the pick of our differentials, I think. So it fits in, and we didn't collaborate over this. It's the first I've seen of this punt.
Absolutely.
So yeah, really good to see you going for him. I mean, there's a shout in the chat actually. One of the guesses was for Pedro Neto, and we haven't mentioned him.
No, we haven't. No,
at all on the pod, and because of Jackson's red card, Neto's very likely to be playing up front.
I think so, yeah.
For Chelsea against
it's a
Man
really
United.
good shout
so
for this
week.
Neto definitely.
Punt, the 81st records, well done. Yeah, nice guess. So he could quite easily have been in here, but Chelsea are just not quite as on it as Arsenal, are they?
No.
So I like Martinelli a lot, mate. Good one.
I think next year we're going to see it. I think he'd be priced about maybe 8.5, but I think he's going to be. I think he could play to the value of like a 10.5 next year. We shall see. We got our teams now then for this coming Game Week 37. Rich, I feel sick just looking at your team. You've literally got everyone I want in your team already.
Well, that makes you feel a lot better, mate. I mean, I've got a few selection headaches. Last week, I wasn't brave enough to go for Areola over Raya. So I'd have had a really good week if I'd have stuck to my guns. He got an 8-pointer away at Man United. So, Martinez, you've got to play Martinez against Man United next week, mate. So basically, Raya, I think, will get the nod at home against Newcastle. I will play Munoz and Gvardiol because I expect them to start on Tuesday. They're less likely to be rotated than others. Doesn't mean they will, but they're less likely to be rotated. I would probably, I don't know where you got this picture, I will probably play Concert over Kiwior, even though Kiwior's expected points are higher. I fancy Villa for that game against Tottenham. And I'm not sure I want to go double Arsenal defence against Newcastle because they're pretty good at scoring. So I'll probably hedge and drop Kiwior to the bench. Salah, De Bruyne, and Mbeumo and Rodgers will come into my midfield. I know this is obviously done on expected points, but I will drop Sarr to the bench because I think he's a slight risk of not starting on Tuesday. And I want to go full strength Villa against Spurs tomorrow night. And then up front, I've got Watkins captain, Visser and Isak. So yeah, really nice, strong front line there. There is this slight rumour, isn't there, that Isak is going to have an operation at the end of the season. Have you seen that? I mean, I don't know if any substance to it, but it's a slight worry if you're looking like me, and you're going to try and carry him through to the end.
I think you have to carry him, mate. I think you have to carry that home to Everton on the last match of the season.
Yeah.
You've got to have Isak.
You could get a couple in that, couldn't he? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, unless there's anything about him being a risk for the weekend, I'm going to keep that front line. There's no transfers there. That means I can take 2 frees into next week against you when we're face to face in London, and I can have a punt on I don't know, a nice differential, as well as getting Mr. Saka in for free. So put you under pressure a bit.
Looking strong, mate. 97% game week rating as well. That's without Rodgers. So yeah, 1.8 million in the bank. Looking really, really strong. Well played. Your recommended transfers this week. Interesting one. Probably won't do it, and I understand why. And if it wasn't his final game for Man City, which obviously the AI doesn't really read into, I would do it. But it says De Bruyne to Saka, but we have got De Bruyne on 75 minutes, where he'll probably play a lot more than that, won't he? So, but obviously,
it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I saw that because it's in I did my team reveal earlier for the hub. But yeah, I can't do that, can I?
No. And the AI isn't quite smart enough to understand that it's De Bruyne's last game for Man City retiring. And all this sort of stuff. So, and they'll all be trying to give him the ball to score. He'll probably be on penalties. So no, I think the right thing is to do it.
I think it's a save, mate. It's got to be. I do like Saka, and I'm very likely to bring him in. Although, as I said to you yesterday when we were playing last year, I hung out for the team league for Saka, got a fake team league on the last day that Saka was starting, and he wasn't starting. At another fake team league that Isak was injured, and he wasn't injured. So there were 2 fake team leagues that screwed with my benching positions, and in the end, Isak came off the bench and scored me 14 points for the absent Saka. So I got lucky when I'd been stitched up by team leagues. So Saka, he's not out of the woods yet. He's quite injury prone, and I expect a bit of jeopardy going into that last lineup against Southampton. So be warned on Saka.
Indeed, he was also your aggressive transfer this week as well. Yeah. But yeah, as I say, I wouldn't be taking De Bruyne out this week at all. Yeah. My team is up now on screen. I've only got the 91% team rating. I quite like my team in the main. Oh, it hasn't actually changed. Marmouche. I must have taken an old screenshot. Raya or Martinez this week. So Raya home to Newcastle. Martinez.
Gotta go Martinez. Well, it depends whether you're going to sell him now as part of your plan.
Raya home to Newcastle. I'm not taking a hit. Well, no, I'm not. Am I? No. Raya home to Newcastle. Martinez home to Spurs. So I need to make a decision there. Gvardiol, Ruben Diaz, and Munoz at the back. I've also got Timber, who's not coming in. I've got Konza as well, but I think I'll probably play Ruben Diaz. I'm going to have to go for that as like a differential. Like Ruben Diaz has done well for me these last few weeks. As you said, got a 9-pointer last week. So I'm happy to hold him there. Salah and Buemo, Rodgers, and then there's Sarr. I'm probably gonna play Sarr. I do like the fixture, and I feel this is where FPL can come and bite you in the arse at times. He probably is the natural one to maybe move on or sell, but he's also on form. Just scored, a couple of goals. Was it in the FA Cup semi-final? Should have scored last week. Fit as a fiddle, home to Wolves. I fancy him. So again, this is the thing: is I'm not taking a hit to take out Ismail Assar. I think that's bonkers. Considering there's nothing wrong with him, it's just there's more exciting options. So I'm probably going to stick with Sarr. I've got Isak. I have got Cunha instead of Marmouche. I don't know why. I must have messed around with the screenshot, but I have got Cunha, so I'll be playing Cunha as well. And
you've got 3 million as well.
Yeah, so I think my transfer is going to be a pretty boring actually, but I did want it. I want him anyway, so I'm going to bring him in. So I'm just going to do Mateta to Visser, which may seem a bit boring, but I did want Visser anyway. I wish I'd gone for Visser last week, but I didn't. I went for Cunha. So I have a front three of Isak, Cunha, and Visser, which I'm really happy with. Captaincy, I wish I had Watkins. I obviously do, but I'm not taking a hit because I've got a strong team. It doesn't make sense to take a hit to take out a good player. It means that the player I'm bringing in has to score just to match wherever going. I know what you mean about the Watkins captaincy, but I do think I have two other good captaincy options this week. I think Rodgers is a decent captain option against you're against the very same Spurs. But I think Mbuemo and Visser as well, home to Fulham. I think that fixture is pretty good. If you were to put a score line on Brentford and Fulham now, what would you say?
3-1.
Exactly, similar to the Spurs one.
They could go either way.
I have got three captaincy options actually in Mbuemo, Visser, and Rodgers. So that was the moment I had when I saw I could do Mateta to Visser. Is I'm quite happy with that actually. So
I would seriously consider playing at least one of your Villa defence. I've left something like 28 points on the bench in the last 2 weeks through Villa players, Rodgers and Konsa. I benched them, and they both scored both weeks. Villa's right up there now in the XGC stats anyway. They've really tightened up defensively. I would play Konsa or Martinez.
I'm going to play Martinez.
Both on the bench, mate.
Arsenal's defence hasn't been great these last few weeks. Yeah. And as you said, I played Martinez last week. He got an 8-pointer. I think he got a 9-pointer on my bench the week before. I will play Martinez. So I'm reasonably happy with that. I mean, if Watkins goes off and scores, I mean, there's nothing. I thoroughly expect him to do well, but
it's good. Well, it's good that we're not having identical teams, isn't it? It makes for a bit of fun. It's not like your players are crap, mate, is it?
I got Sarr, who's on form at home to Wolves. It's a decent, it's slightly. It's slightly different, but it'll be interesting. My recommended transfer this week was actually Mbuemo out to Saka. Talking about an aggressive move, I won't be doing that. I might be captain Mbuemo, and that was the same for my aggressive one as well. But I will not be doing that this week. Absolutely no chance. So that is it from us for this week. Thank you so much to everyone who joined in the chat. Those who are going to watch it back and those listening on the podcast versions, your support is, as always, very, very much appreciated. Andrew Barton says he's got Konsa, Asensio and Watkins in a team. What could possibly go wrong? I think if you were all in, on Villa this week, it's looking good. Rich, thank you so much for joining me as usual. Where can people get hold of you?
At Rich Clarke FPL on Twitter and Blue Sky.
Good stuff. My handle on Twitter is at FFH_Fergie. Just to say to everyone, we have had a few discussions over the last few weeks, about kind of the future of the Green Arrow. But we are really pleased to say that both Rich and I will be back next season. So you don't have to worry about that. Very, very excited to be back.
We got some new resources coming on board, and we'll be revamping the show a little bit with some extra features and some new guests and that kind of stuff. So really excited for doing another season. We've seen a few. We've lost a few community pods, haven't we? I think the guys in the US have decided to call it a day at the end of the season. The always cheating guys. So Josh and Brandon, much enjoyed listening to your pods over the years. If you're listening, and I hope you have a good end to the season and still enjoy FPL in the future. But it's been grueling. It's been a grueling season, and we'll probably have a little bit of reflection in next week's pod, as well as looking at game week 38, because it has been challenging at times. Coming off that early season variance, I've never known anything like it in 20 years of playing, mate. So It's been tough. So
it's tough
well done to everybody
Absolutely.
for hanging in there.
Absolutely. And even now, still, we've got nearly 300 people watching us live in Game Week 37. We really, really appreciate your support, and it is solely the reason why we keep turning up every single week is because because it gets so much support. We've got such a loyal following, and we do really, really appreciate it. Anyway. FPL Top Bin says the return of the Hub mug. We'll have to see. We'll have to see about that. We might have to do something.
We'll have a merch review.
Yeah, we'll have a merch splurge at some point for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
This podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please press the like button. We'd really appreciate it. And remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast, leave us 5 stars, and leave a comment. We will be back next week, looking ahead to the finale, Game Week 38. In the meantime, we hope you have a fantastic Game Week 37, and may all your arrows be green. Good night all.